Canon number 3, Conflict of Interest and Impartiality. The third canon of the D.C. Court's Interpreter Code of Ethics is regarding conflict of interest and impartiality. Court interpreters must at all times avoid conflicts of interest and must remain neutral and impartial in proceedings where they serve. Interpreters should not ever be alone with the parties. They must not have unnecessary contact with the parties. They must avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Interpreters must disclose any real or potential conflict of interest to the court, parties, and attorneys in both in-court and out-of-court matters. The interpreters must have no personal interest in the outcome of the case. Sometimes, interpreters are left alone with the parties, and the parties try to engage the interpreters in conversation. It is essential for interpreters to politely explain to the parties that they are not permitted to have private conversations with them and to step away. If an interpreter is seen conversing with one of the parties, it could appear to the other party or to opposing counsel that the interpreter has a bias or personal preference, which could negatively affect the interpreter's appearance of impartiality and cast doubt on the interpreter's credibility. Likewise, if an interpreter knows one of the parties in a case in which they are asked to interpret to such an extent that they believe it would affect their ability to be impartial, the interpreter must recuse him or herself and ask OCIS to assign another interpreter. If the interpreter knows a party but is still able to be neutral and impartial, the interpreter must disclose this to the court and also inform the court that their knowledge of this individual does not affect the interpreter's ability to be fair and impartial.
Canon number 4, Duty to report inaccuracies. Interpreters have the duty to correct any and all errors of interpretation made during the proceeding or interpreted event immediately, or as soon as the error is identified. This duty to report inaccuracies is limited to errors in the interpretation. Interpreters must not speculate as to whether others participating in the proceeding have made mistakes, or correct the errors committed by other parties or attorneys. If it appears that a party, attorney, psychologist, interviewer, or mediator has made a mistake, do not try to correct them. When working in a team interpreting situation, if the passive interpreter realizes that the active interpreter may have made a mistake, the interpreters must request permission of the court and briefly consult one another to determine what the correct interpretation should be. The interpreter who made the mistake should correct the record.